Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Tash. If you're new here, welcome. Today is going to be my February reading wrap up. I did read a total of 18 books, which is insane. I haven't done those numbers for over a year. And then I have DNF'd as well 4 books this month. We'll get straight into the video. I'm probably just going to give like a quick round off explanation about the book, not too much in depth. But if you do want more in-depth reviews, they can be found on my Goodreads. Sometimes there is, sometimes there's not. So I did get into a mood reading month. I was in a very mood reading self-my month. I started off with some polyamorous books and then, well, one polyamorous book. And then I went into MM. I don't know what happened, but I did like a 2-week stint of reading MM books. So there's going to be a lot of them in here. First book I read was Lovers by Fiona Cole. This is the second book in her Voyeur series. I have read her first book, which it was Voyeur, but that was like over a year ago, so I can't really remember much about it besides it was a teacher something. Yeah, something. This was a polyamorous book where 2 males and 1 female. The males were friends in college and they had like a little interaction that ended up in them not speaking again. But later on in life, they end up being on the same job for a reconstruction of this sex club that one of them works at. And he then has to work alongside them. So there's a bit of forced proximity. There is a cheating trope in this because one of the males is married to the female, which, let me get their names. I've totally forgotten all their names. Jackson, Jake, and Karina. Jake and Karina are the couple that are married together, and Jackson is the best friend from college. And Jackson sort of like tempts him a little bit into like making certain decisions. Ends up with there being a cheating trope, and the ending really annoyed me. It wasn't how I wanted the book to end, and I feel like it was very unfair because there was not a resolution for all characters, which made me quite upset, and it wasn't in the best interest of everyone, and that's what upset me. So that really ended up affecting my scoring for this book. So I ended up only giving it a 2.5 stars. Yeah, I was quite upset by that ending. So yeah. Wit by Cora Rose. This is a college romance, some Grumpy Sunshine almost, and opposites attract because it is a jock and then like a guy who's sort of like, he's not a recluse, but he's just your typical nerdy, wants to stick to the rules. He's got a schedule and he's just different. We've got Caleb, who's the jock, and Wit. So Caleb ends up getting sick one night after a night out, and the boys are roommates. So Wit ends up looking after him because he starts being violently sick. And a few days afterwards, he's quite sick and he nurses Caleb back to health. Caleb doesn't quite remember the whole time that he's sick, so when he wakes up he realizes that Wit had actually been speaking to his family and he had been telling everyone like updates about how his health is, and Caleb ends up becoming quite attached. He's quite a physically affectionate person, and what I did like about this book the most was that they have like a fairy tale-esque sort of telling of the story, because even though Wit's quite standoffish, Caleb and him sort of have like this little bubble that they live in. They only see each other and care for what each other think, and they just want to see each other's joy develop. So that was really nice and really sweet. Was the writing absolutely incredible? No. Was the spice good? Yeah. But what I liked most was probably like the small town and little road trips and the college experience that they have together, and just the whole bonding of them always being together, and no matter where they are, they'll just want to go home and cuddle. And I think that that's so cute, and I liked that. The forced proximity of it all. Being this golden retriever and Wit being this mysterious, cold, standoffish person. I just like that sort of banter where they're both opposites. So yeah, it was a fun, cute read. Then we've got Where There's a Will and If There's a Way, which is the Lost Boys series. I've talked about them a few times now on my channel already. I fell in love with this series. The first book is Where There's a Will and second book is If There's a Way. Overall, the first book, definitely slow to start with, but I feel like if you stick it through, because a lot of things aren't answered in the first book, the second book explains everything. You see the whole story from a different perspective. Me personally though, I didn't find the first book overly boring. That's not what I'm trying to say. I think it's just there's a lot of repetitiveness to behaviors and things that they do, which it makes sense with the sort of trauma that they're going through. It does feel quite realistic in the sense of they would have these continual thought processes and these continual things that how they deal with things in real life. So if you get annoyed by sort of repetitiveness in a way, it might annoy you in the first book. I however just fell in love with their story. Their story is really heartbreaking. It's a very sad, it's a slow burn, it's so emotional. You're gonna go into it knowing that you're gonna cry. It's definitely not for the light-hearted. It's a dark, gritty romance. Definitely check up trigger warnings. Your heart will break for Will and Way when reading this. It's such a raw, devastating and emotional story. The way the author explores the different complexities of their love whilst also exploring their past traumas, she's done it in such a beautiful way and literally had me turning pages till early hours of the morning. So if you want something that's raw, angsty, emotional, intense, toxic, you need to pick this one up because I can't stop raving about it. I might get this author's name wrong, but it's You and Me by Tal Buer. I think that's how you say their last name. They'll be up on the screen. Anyway, this is a book about two fathers and they have two teenage sons in college. Others have completely separate and completely different lives. Landon, he is the father who has been brought up in an unconventional upbringing, but he is now gay and he has a really good relationship with his son. As where Luke, he has recently just gone through a divorce with the mother of his child and he is struggling to connect with his son. Ends up deciding that the best way to build this relationship is to help out with his son's football game. They have like a board. They have like a community of people who help out with like cook-ups and they go to the games and they prepare things and you know, they just help out behind the scenes. Landon ends up offering him the opportunity to come and Luke accepts straight away. They end up having a really good connection. They slowly build like a relationship up and they realize that they have feelings for each other. But I think what this story didn't connect with me was it was a little bit too cheesy for me. There were moments where it felt like they were children talking to each other, but then they would go back to being mature adults and it was very I don't know, it wasn't my favorite story. That's all I'm gonna say. I gave it 3 stars. I'm just gonna leave it at that. And continued on with the Unexpected series by Cora Rose. From Wit, I then read Sem. I just needed something fun again after reading that book. Sem is a book about Magnus and Sem. Magnus is this flamboyant, openly expressive person, and Sem is from a small town. He is what they call in the book, he's the Viking. He's quite tall, he's quite broody, he is very to himself. He meets Sem in the first book in Wit, which explained at the very last few chapters. Sem becomes quite obsessed with Magnus. He's not in a terrible way, he's so interested in who Magnus is and how he dresses, and he just finds it it intrigues him the way that he's so openly himself. This was again not the most amazingly written book. It is short. I don't know if I mentioned that about Wit, but they're both short. They're about 2 to 250 pages. I think it was just like, it's just like a fun read. It's like a book to get you through if you've had like a terrible book and you need something quick and easy. These are the 2 books I would suggest in this series, and I believe there's like 5 books. I haven't got to all of them. Sem's the last one I've read, so yeah, if I have like any more struggle weeks, I'm definitely going to pick up, I think Emery's the third book. So yeah, I gave it 3.5 stars as well. Hidden Scars by Andy Jackson. So this is a sports college romance. Preston is the bad boy, Jeremy is the good boy. They end up being paired up as roommates. So Preston is transferred across to a new team, which then he meets Jeremy. Jeremy becomes his new roommate. So it is a hockey college romance. Jeremy ends up finding out a little bit about Preston's trauma from home because he is staying in the same room with him and he does have nightmares. Preston has a lot of things going on at home, which is quite a large focus of the book, and trying to get him out of that situation. So this book was very beautiful and like heart-wrenching. As soon as I started reading the book, I don't know what this author put in it, but I literally couldn't put it down. It's very dark, literally gets you in a chokehold as soon as you start. So just be prepared. And another thing to be prepared for, like I read a lot of on-page abuse and very horrific things. This was literally torture that you read on page. So just be prepared because it's crazy. I was not expecting it. I was like, he does what now? Yeah, so just be prepared. What drives the story the most is Jeremy and Preston's relationship. It is very intense, it's very steamy, it does have that spice there, but I think what forces it the most is the connection that they have, the comfort, the hurt, that sort of trope where they always rely on each other and that they can bring each other down from when they're in those sort of headspaces. I love that, when they can just rely on each other, they can come together, like go and, you know, they just know what to do to help that certain someone get out of that scenario that they're in. With the dark aspects of this book as well, I just think it's really well handled by the author. Savage Rivals by Becca Steele. This is a college football, I believe, contemporary sports college football romance. It is a rival sort of enemies to lover-esque. It's a high school setting, so I do want to put that out there. It is a little angsty towards the beginning. Once they get over the hatred, the dislike that they have, it moves away really quickly. There's a lot of childish behavior in this, like pranks and like juvenile sort of fights, so just to be aware of that. To be honest, I don't really remember too much about it when I'm thinking back. Like no specific scenes of that I can sort of pinpoint and be like, I can just remember like the gist of the story. I don't know if anyone gets that, but like I can just remember what it was about, but I can't remember exactly like the sequence of events. I did give it 3 stars, so I must have liked it. I just can't remember much else, so it mustn't be that rememberable if I can't remember much, so I'll just go into the next book. Next we have a duet, which is Follow the River and After Rain Falls, which is by C.E. Ricky. These books are not for the lighthearted. I would suggest definitely checking up trigger warnings because very, very heavy topics. As well, there were some scenes in the book that I feel like some people may not take the right way, which at times I sort of thought, I don't know if these were the right scenes to be putting into this book, and the way that the author chose to put them in. If you go read Goodreads, you'll know what I mean. I don't know if I'm allowed to say it on YouTube. I, however, did enjoy both the books. It wasn't terrible in the point that I had to DNF. The first book, 3.5 stars, and I would say the second book, 4 stars. They're very emotional and heart-triggering reads. I feel like I've said that about a lot of these books. I was in a very emotional month. It is a sports college romance. River is the quarterback team captain and Rain joins the team, and he is all dark and broody and has a lot of excess baggage. They don't get along too well and have a lot of bickerments. And there ends up being a lot of fights between them, physical and verbal. The captain, or the team, not captain, what is he? The boss man of the team, I don't know what they're called. The coach. The coach ends up sending them away to the cabin for a month in the woods, and it basically says like that they need to sort out their stuff together and come back for the better good of the team. So there is a bit of forced proximity. I did like it, I did finish it, and yeah, I would just suggest going in with your own caution. And if you do have triggers, definitely go to Goodreads and check out the reviews. Again, with this same author, I probably will just talk about the last 2 books of hers that I've read. So I did read Head Above Water. I didn't like this book. This was about 2 stepbrothers. They end up being separated because of a sequence of events that happened in the book. They come back together later in life once both of their parents actually pass in a car accident. So this deals with a lot of grief. One of the guys is actually engaged and leaves his town where he was to go back to help his stepbrother to deal with the loss of the parents and what to do. There is cheating in it, and it just completely ruined the story for me. So I just couldn't see past this book. I don't know what this author does, but I don't know why I keep reading her books as well, but it was just, I just know that she writes MM, so I was just trying to get, like, I was just hoping to find another book, but yeah. The final book of hers that I read was These Vile Secrets. I gave that 4 stars. This is the series that follows on from River and Rain's books. Meet them at the end of in the second book. It is revolved around the Enclave Society, which they are a secret society of higher up powerful people, and it's sort of mafia-esque based. I think the story was fun. It was like a workplace one night stand, enemies to lovers, forced proximity. I did enjoy it. I think the author has definitely done her best work for this series. Unfortunately, the series isn't continuing until next year, so we'll have to wait for the second book for that. However, just like with her previous work now, and reading more of her work, I'm just like not sure where I sit with reading her stuff. So yeah, do with that what you will. Moving on to some of my better reads this month. I did read Hail Mary by Candy Steiner. I absolutely loved this book. It was so much fun. This was a second chance, college, sports, forced proximity, roommates. I think Mary might actually be one of my favorite FMCs. She was just so much fun and I absolutely loved her character. She's a curvy FMC, she's a tattooist, she doesn't take shit, she's got really good banter, she can give it back to the boys when they were giving her shit, and I just love her. So I think she's one of my favorite FMCs that Candy's ever written. So Mary did have her heart broken by Leo back in high school, and the story then takes off later on in life, where she sort of thinks that he did something to her on purpose, which was bit of backstory. So basically Mary was given a online gaming console when she was a kid because she wanted to game, and she met Leo through the online gaming. They became really close friends, and she finally gained the confidence to go and speak to him at school and show him her drawings, which they had been speaking about online. They hadn't officially ever met, so they didn't know who each other were. And when they did meet, unfortunately, he was quite rude to her and ignored her and acted like he didn't recognize her. So she was quite upset by that and ended up just barring him and didn't speak to him ever again, and had this like hatred for him. So later on in life, they're becoming neighbors while they're both in college. Mary has a burst pipe happen. Leo offers her to have a place to stay while they do the repairs and fix it and get rid of the mold. So she ends up moving in because they do have a spare room, and it just takes off from there. It was so fucking good, like so hot, so steamy. The banter was there. First grumpy sunshine, so he was sort of he was falling for her straight away, even though it's second chance, but he was fully falling for her before she was having those feelings back for him. One of my favorite scenes is he allows her to give him a tattoo, and she just takes care of him as well. And the spice was immaculate. It was incredible. It was really good. I don't know, I'm feeling bittersweet about this series because I don't want it to come to an end. I did love it so much. I, from start to finish, loved every single one of these books. So it is a bit of a bittersweet feeling. Happy Place, I've spoken about this on my channel a couple times already now as well. I do want to put it out there, I probably wouldn't recommend this as a romance book. It was extremely sad, extremely emotional. So this is again another second chance romance. It is a fiance and fiance. They haven't told their friends that they have split up after being together for like 10 or so years, and they get invited to a holiday weekend together, which they both try to and get out of, but they realize that they can't, and that once they're there, they realize they can't explain to everyone that they've split up, so they have to sort of fake date, fake engage while they're there for the weekend, just to not ruin the plans of stuff. It's very push and pull, it's very sad, it's a lot of emotions about self-doubt, self-worth, family issues, reconcile their relationships. It's about feeling worthy enough in your careers. It's literally about life. Like, this book is a life book. Like, a lot of the quotes I had taken from this are quotes that I can relate to myself in, thinking, am I where I'm meant to be in life? Like, a lot of people around you are in certain positions, especially in like your 20s and 30s. Like, I feel like this is the time when everyone's either settling down, they're having kids, buying a house, they're high up in their career, they're traveling the world, and it's just, everyone's so vastly different that you just, there's a lot of comparison that you're doing to other people's lives with your own. So this book I would recommend if you're in one of those positions about how you're feeling in life, because it was very eye-opening in the fact of that you shouldn't be comparing yourself, and if there is things that you need to change, you can do it. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4.25 stars. Just have a box of tissues ready because I cried my eyes out. So yeah. Also forgot to mention that this is being published in April. I believe it's April 25th or 26th. I'll put it on the screen. So yeah, thanks to the publisher for sending me an early copy of this. Another publisher who sent me a book early, this is Debbie McComa. This is The Best Is Yet to Come. Spear is publishing this one. So I do want to say thank you to them for sending me this copy. This was a really cute read. This is Cade and Hope's story. Cade is a ex-military. Is he military or is he, like, what do you call him, a veteran? What is it? Yeah, I think it's a veteran. Anyway, he ends up getting into some trouble with like his PTSD and his traumas, and ends up getting in trouble with the law. But the judge sort of orders him to, instead of doing hours in prison, he needs to do community service. So he gets sent away to go do community service for a dog shelter, which is where he meets Hope. And Hope is a teacher, and she works at this shelter because she's just recently lost her twin brother. So she's going through some grief and she's just trying to keep herself busy. Hope has a connection with one of the dogs there, which is one of my favorite parts of the book. She rehabilitates the dog and takes him in, and the dog only trusts her and is very protective of her. I think it was a really cute, it was a really sweet read. There was moments where they had like lots of dates, like on the beach, and then they went to like her school function that she had for work, and I did enjoy it. I just think because the book is written in third person, that was my only thing that held me back from connecting with the characters more. You don't have that personal touch to it, so that was the only thing that really held me back. I gave it 3 stars. It was really cute, it was really sweet, it was fun, it was easy. I mean, it's like less than 300 pages, so it's a fast read. Yeah, I recommend if you're just looking for something like a summer read. Then we have Powerless by Elsie Silver. Elsie Silver is one of my favorite authors. This was such a good read. Jasper's book, Sloane has forever and always been in love with Jasper. They grew up together on their ranch. Jasper was taken in by the family because he didn't have the best home life. So he was sort of like adopted in, and they sort of grew up as like cousins-y. Like they were just all within the same group of family, blood related. As they grow up, she's always had this crush on him, but he was always older and he didn't see her in that light. wasn't until she turned 18 and he hadn't seen her for a few years that he went and helped her, that they sort of rekindled their friendship a bit more. They don't ever get together, they have separate relationships, and they grow up a bit more. He goes away for hockey, so this is a hockey romance, and she is a ballerina, so there is that sports aspect, the small town, all of that. Later on down the track with another man where she is getting married, Jasper comes to meet him, and obviously there's a bit of tension between them and they're butting heads. Her partner is just a terrible human being, and Jasper comes in and saves her on the day of the wedding and takes her away. So there is a runaway bride. Road trips, a couple road trips involved in this book, and yeah, it was really steamy, really hot, really spicy. Not like spicy, it was just a lot of tension in it together. So it's just one of those books where the tension builds. It is a slow burn, so they don't get together for quite a while, but that's what I love about Elsie. She just knows how to write a good grumpy sunshine. Friends to Lovers is slowly becoming like a good favorite trip of mine. It didn't used to be, but I feel like when you find the right author who knows how to do it, it just is magical. And I loved every damn moment. And the bathroom scene, if anyone has read this book, you will know that bathroom scene and the kitchen scene. Reese Larson from Twisted Games. If you like the crawl to me scene, read this. Jasper is perfection. The final book I read of the month, which is a series for a reverse harem, it is Poison Roses by Jasmine Eve and Tate James. This book started out strong, but then it got to like halfway through and then all the boys were in love with her after like literally 2 days of meeting her, and they were breaking up friendships, and I don't know, it was very insta-lovey for me and it ruined the whole thing. I did keep reading because it was like a fast-paced read. Yeah, I just don't know what was so special about this girl. Like I don't know, there was something about this book that just really icked me. I don't know. I haven't read either of these authors' work. I've read the Goodreads after I'd finished it, and other people have said that they've had similar thoughts to me and that they loved all the authors' previous work, not as co-authors. So maybe I need to give their books another go, but it didn't mesh well. I don't know what happened. And then it was a bit of a plot twist at the end, which I sort of was like, fine, I'll read book 2. Again, way too insta-lovey. Everything was just, they're crying over her, like literally they're crying over her, and I'm just like, it's been a week, bro, like calm down. I don't know why everyone loves her so much. Like, what has she done? Anyway, so book 1 I gave 3 stars. I finished it. I probably would even say 2.5 stars now that I'm thinking back, because it wasn't like I liked it that much. Not even the spice was that great, so yeah. And then I DNF'd book 2, which was Dirty Truth, so there you go. So I did have about like 4 books I DNF'd. The first one was Iris. This was like a military book. I literally couldn't get into it. It was so weird. I don't know. I just gave up on it. It was like 15% in. Then I did Try by Ella Frank. I think I got 40% in with this. Do you know what? It was just the third person. I could not get past it. Even when I was reading it, it felt third person, and I was just like, oh, sometimes I can get through it and I'm like, oh yeah, like I know what's happening, but this was just terrible. Okay, it wasn't terrible. I couldn't, no. Hostel by Nicole Dykes. This I got 40% in. It felt so childish. I just needed something way more intimate from the book, and it just wasn't giving. So yeah, that was a DNF. And the final book I DNF'd, which I had such high hopes for because it's been all over TikTok and Bookstagram and all of that, and Black Ties and White Lies I think it's Kat Singleton who writes it, and I got like 15% in. Both of these main characters were so annoying to me. He was too like in her face straight away. Even though his brother dated her, he was just too upfront about his feelings with her, like saying like, I'm gonna bend you over this table, when they've literally had one conversation and she's just like, well, like, I haven't seen you in years, and now you've bought this company, and just to have a conversation with me and you're telling me you're gonna bend me over a table. Like, I literally have just broken up with my boyfriend, which is your brother, like a year ago, and now you're here doing this, and he cheated on me. Like, I'm still trying to get over it, and you're here saying that. And then he's like, yeah, I need you to like fake date me and fake marriage together so that I can look good for the board. And then she's like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll do it, like whatever. And then she doesn't want to use his money, and I'm like, babes, like, you're doing a favor for him. Like, just say like, yeah, I'll use your private jet. Yeah, I'm gonna fly back every week to see my friends. Yeah, I'm gonna move into your penthouse apartment in New York City. I will move from LA to New York for you. Like, these sort of MCs annoy me. Like, you have to just, if a billionaire is gonna come into your life, they're gonna buy a company to have a conversation with you, but you're not gonna use their penthouse apartment. Make it make sense. That is my February wrap up. So there was 18 books I finished, which is crazy. I haven't done those numbers in so long. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!